Okay. A very good morning to one and all present here with us today. I am Himashailaja, curator Sri Venkateswara Zoological Park, Tirupati. On behalf of Andhra Pradesh Forest Department, I cordially welcome all of you to the webinar on Grey Junglefowl conservation. I welcome our speakers, Dr. S.Sathyakumar and Dr. M.C.Satyanarayana and Dr. Gauri Mallapur and Ms. Arundhati Mohanty SRF from CZDA and all the other viewers who are watching the webinar on YouTube. As a part of Azadi Amrit Mahotsav, Sri Venkateswara Zoological Park has been assigned by the CZDA to take up conservation awareness programs for 1 week. That is from 7th June to 13th June, with the Grey Junglefowl species as in focus. Currently, we are in 13th week of Mahotsav. Today is the inaugural day, and we have planned a series of webinars for the coming 3 days as well on various topics related to Junglefowl and Pheasants of India. And the last 3 days, we are organizing online competitions on topics related to Grey Junglefowl and now I'd like to introduce and call upon Dr. S. Sathyakumar to speak about the overview, the conservation status, conserving the wild ancestors of domestic chicken, the case of red junglefowl and grey junglefowl. Dr. S. Sathyakumar is a senior scientist at the Wildlife Institute of India, Dehradun. He is a member of IUCN SSC Galliformes specialist group. He has completed his master PhD in wildlife science and has been working for wildlife conservation and sustainable development since 1989. He specializes on mountain ungulates, bears, galliforms, habitat ecology, population ecology, etc. And he has published papers on habitat used by grey junglefowl, understanding cryptic introgression and mixed ancestry of red junglefowl, and unrevealing the domestication of chicken. He is the recipient of many awards, including Indian National Science Academy Teachers Award. Now, I request Dr. Sathyakumar to take over the presentation. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Very good morning to all of you. It's my privilege to be here to make a presentation on the topic that I'm going to talk to you today. Please confirm that you are able to see the screen of my presentation.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. At the outset, I would like to congratulate Sri Venkateswara Zoological Park for organizing this. Of course, under this Azadi Amrit Mahotsav of the Central Zoo Authority. So today's and this week is entirely for the gorgeous grey junglefowl. So I would say we are celebrating this bird, the grey junglefowl, that is found only in endemic to India in the peninsular part of the region. This particular bird is in the focus of this particular zoo for conservation breeding program. Today, as Ms. Shailaja has just mentioned, I'm going to talk about two aspects. One is Pheasants of India, a just overview of status and conservation. And second, we'll be talking about wild ancestors of domestic chicken, the case of grey junglefowl and red junglefowl. Now, what are galliforms? Galliforms are those birds, gallinaceous birds, which are belonging to the family of peafowl or peacock that we commonly call, and related birds. Even our chicken is a galliform. So all the birds called pheasants, like the peafowl, partridges, quails, francolins, spurfowls, snowcocks, and megapode are all gallinaceous birds. Around the world, there are about 284 species of galliforms in 70 genera. In Central and South Asia, we have 55 species. And India is so fortunate that out of the 55 species found in Central and South Asia, we have 45. Of the 45 species, 7 are endemic to India, meaning that they are found only in India and not elsewhere. And of the 45, 12 are globally threatened species. And if you look at Indian galliforms, they come only in two main families. One is a single species represented by Megapodidae. It's a very small bird found only in the Nicobar Islands of India. It's called the Nicobar megapode. The remaining 44 species of Galliformes are all belonging to the family called Cassianidae, which includes snowcocks, spurfowls, francolins, partridges, quails, and the pheasants. Now, if you look at Galliformes as such, they all have a very important ecological role. They have a lot of socio-cultural connections. They have aesthetic and religious values. Now, talking about only pheasants in India, we have about 17 species in total, of which 16 of them occur only in the Himalayan region of India, and only one is distributed in the peninsular India, that is the Grey Junglefowl. Of the 17 pheasants found in India, 5 of them are threatened category. Now, pheasants are an excellent indicator of habitat quality. So, in any forest, if you see peafowl or junglefowl or monal pheasant, that means that habitat is very good. Why? Because pheasants like trees where they can roost in the night. In the night, they have to sleep on the trees, they stay on the trees. But during the day, they are on the ground where they feed on the food that is in the form of herbs, insects, seeds that is on the ground. And they also like bushes, which we call for escaping from predators. We call it escape cover. So they need bushes to hide from people and other animals. So they like forest which have good trees, good ground cover, and that is why a forest is supposed to be real good quality if you have good trees cover, good food in the ground, and good shrub cover. And only in those areas you will find pheasants. So when you see pheasants, that area is good. Now looking at pheasants, we have some species which have been really very nice, beautiful animals. Pheasants are all beautiful animals. The males are beautifully colored, like the Indian peacock male. If you can see the train of feathers, so all pheasants are beautifully colored. That's males have to display those colors and attract the females. Now, because of that, many birds have been recognized as wonderful mascots for conservation. For example, Indian peafowl itself, which is widely distributed in India, is a national bird, our country. And it's also a state bird for the state of Odisha. Himalayan monal pheasant is a state bird for Uttarakhand and national bird for Nepal. Western tragopan is the state bird for Himachal Pradesh. Blight's tragopan for Nagaland, blood pheasant for Sikkim, and Hume's pheasant for Manipur and Mizoram. Now you can understand so many, our country as well as so many states have pheasants as their mascots, as a state bird or as the national bird. Now, pheasants, as I said earlier, these are pictures of pheasants which are not found in India excepting for the monal, which is shown here. You see that this is a golden pheasant, the ringneck pheasant. They like a lot of dense cover and they feed on ground, so they need light of ground cover. They don't fly long distances. They can fly only short distances, and they use the tree branches to stay during the night. I'll now take you through to all these 17 pheasants that are found in India. The first one is blood pheasant, Etagenis crentus. This is the state bird for Sikkim. It's a beautiful bird and it occurs in fir forest, rhododendron forest, and small dwarf rhododendron juniper in very dense or partially dense bamboo clumps, generally found from 1500 meters to 4700 meters. It is found in the state Bhutan as well as Arunachal Pradesh, as shown in the map on the top right corner of your screens. This is in the this is also in a high protection status. other details are given on the screen that you can have a look at. Here also you can see male is more brightly colored, unlike the females. The next bird is we have in the world there are 5 tragopans, of which 4 occur in India. Western tragopan is one of the most beautiful birds and very rare in the world. It is found only in 2 countries, India and Pakistan. Even in India, it's found only in Jammu Kashmir, Himachal, and Uttarakhand. It's a very beautiful bird, as you see here. The males have a very nice bright crimson red neck, black head, and then the body covered with a lot of brown gray feathers with white spots. It's really very highly protected species because it's very rare. They live in very dense undergrowth in undisturbed temperate forest, oak forest, and mixed forest from 1700 meters to 3600 meters. They are very rare. One of our PhD students from Wildlife Institute of India conducted a PhD on this, and another student of ours did about the studies on the conservation breeding of this bird, who will be talking to you on the Wednesday this week. The other tragopan is satyr tragopan. This bird is also beautiful and similar to Western tragopan, excepting that the color pattern is slightly different. It's got the crimson color blue, and then this red, and then spots all over the feathers of the body. And the females are brown gray and with black and yellow brown spots. This animal is found only in the eastern part of Uttarakhand through Nepal, Sikkim, and Bhutan, and western Arunachal Pradesh. They are 3,800 meters in moist oak, rhododendron forest, dense undergrowth, and mixed forest in these areas. They are also very rare. Next tragopan is the Blight's tragopan. This is again similar to the Western and satyr, but the pattern you see on the head, there's a difference in the color of from the bill to the head, black color, and then the red patch and the black patch on the cheeks. And this bird is also found only in northeastern India, parts of Arunachal Pradesh, and parts of Nagaland, Manipur, and eastern Arunachal Pradesh. It's very rare, and here again the females you can see brownish black and not very attractive like the males. They live in moist evergreen forest with a thick understory and dense shrubs, and also with mountain bamboo, which is called the hill bamboo in these areas on steep slopes from 1800 meters to 3500 meters. Not much knowledge is known about this bird's breeding and clutch size, etc. The fourth tragopan in India is called Temminck's tragopan. This bird is again slightly similar to the other 3 tragopans by their body color, but there are minor variations. As you see, the black on the bill stops here, and then the orangish red crimson takes over, blue here. And this animal is also found in only northeastern India in Arunachal Pradesh, as you see here on this map. The ecology and behavior or the habitat used by the species also is not much known. They are found to occur at elevations 2,000 meters onwards to 3,600, and they are in damp or wet evergreen forest with rhododendron and mountain bamboo. The other tragopan is found in China, that's called the Cobalt's tragopan. Then we have a species called the Koklas, which in Kumaon, Himalaya of Uttarakhand, it's called Pukresi. That's why Britishers gave the genus name Pucresia macrolopa. Pukresi means in Hindi is calling. This bird is known to call very loudly pre-dawn during the breeding season of April and May in the Himalayas. You don't need an alarm clock. Exactly around 4:50 or so, the bird will start calling. The males will call to tell other males that they are here because they are holding territories. Very beautiful bird with blue, the green, dark black head, glossy, and very gray, brown, and yellowish feathers in the body. And they are not that rare. They're found very commonly in Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, and Uttarakhand, and also from 2,000 to 3,300 meters. It likes temperate broadleaf forest, Devdar forest with good bushes and bamboo. This bird is not threatened. It is very common. Then comes the most beautiful bird next to Indian people, I would say, is the Himalayan monal pheasant. This is the national bird for Nepal and state bird for Uttarakhand. This bird is also called the bird of nine colors, and the males are very beautiful, almost like looks like the peacock. Only the exception that they don't have long train of feathers. They live in the areas between 2,000 meters to 5,000 meters in the Himalayas, starting from Jammu Kashmir, Himachal, Uttarakhand, through Nepal, Sikkim, Bhutan, and Arunachal Pradesh. They are found everywhere. They are, and these birds were for those beautiful head feathers, which they used to people in Himachal used to wear it on their caps, locally called kalgi. This bird is a very good indicator of habitat of the tree line and subalpine habitats, and it is known to be associated with another important animal, the Himalayan musk deer. In the same, they share the same habitats. Another monal that is found only in northeast India is the Sclater's monal, and it this is how it is slightly different from the Himalayan monal, found only in a few valleys of Arunachal Pradesh, has been shown in this figure. Not much is known about this species, but one of our colleagues who had done surveys in Arunachal Pradesh has documented some information on Sclater's monal. He also discovered a new subspecies which was neither Sclater's monal nor Himalayan monal, because in the areas where the range is overlapping, he discovered a new species which is a hybrid of both of these. Then comes the murgi, jungli murgi that people all over India know about is the red junglefowl, lal murgi, and in southern India we have another cousin who is called the grey junglefowl. This bird is very common and supposed to be the main ancestor of all the domestic chicken in the world. I'm going to talk about this and the grey junglefowl in detail today. Here, this bird is associated with culture, religion, people, nations. It is found right from Jammu, Himachal, along the Himalayan foothills of Uttarakhand, through Nepal, floodplains of Ganga, and Brahmaputra, all in the plain areas, and also till Orissa and northern part of Andhra Pradesh, and in central part of India, in Madhya Pradesh. It in all areas less than 2,000 meters height. It likes to be in scrub jungle, interspaced with open habitats, abandoned lands, and in deciduous forests, both dry and wet. It is very common and one of the animal which has been well studied also. Then the bird of today, the grey junglefowl. This is endemic only to India, as I said earlier. It is found only from Mount Abu in Rajasthan down south, along the peninsular India till the southern tip of India, along the Western Ghats and the Deccan Plateau, and a few coastal areas like in near Andhra Pradesh, Tirupati area, and also there we have this bird. Northern part of Andhra Pradesh, erstwhile, that is in Telangana today, Kaval, and those areas have these areas where there can be grey junglefowl. This bird is most commonly seen and has been domesticated also along with red junglefowl. They live in open areas, scrub jungle, secondary forest, bamboo, all above less than 2,500 meters or so. And they live in dry deciduous and moist deciduous forests also. Then we go back to the Himalaya again, a species called the Kalij pheasant. Very much like appearance like a junglefowl, only thing that it has a white crest. There are 4 or 5 subspecies. You have the white crested Kalij in Western Himalaya, black crested in Northeast, and so on. This is a beautiful bird and very commonly found all along the foothills of the Himalaya, up to 2,700 meters, in some areas up to 3,000 meters. And from Jammu till through Nepal to Northeast India, all the states, you find them in the Himalayan region and Northeast hill. Likes to live in temperate forest with thick and even found in low elevations. like the valleys of Dehradun or other areas adjoining the hills. Tibetan Erd pheasant is another species which not much is known about this beautiful bird. It occurs only in a very small region of Arunachal Pradesh, and it is found in subalpine birch and rhododendron scrub between 2,800 meters and 4,600 meters. This species is not much known, so we need to really try and do more surveys and understand about this bird. Then comes the cheer pheasant. This bird is called cheer pheasant because it predominantly occurs in cheer pine forest. We call Pinus roxburghi, locally called cheer. This tree is also planted in some parts of Tirumala Hills, cheer pine. It's a conifer. And this bird has a very long tail, as you see here, very commonly occurring in areas close to villages, scrub, and likes hillsides, cliffs, ravines, and wherever people have done cultivation and opened up, you will find this. This bird is found in Jammu Kashmir, Himachal, and western Nepal. It's only found in there, but quite critically endangered now because of the habitats that this bird uses, that is from 1,500 to 3,000 meters in most areas, have been converted for other land use purposes in India. The areas are subjected to fire every year in the before summer and so on. Then comes a little known bird, the Mrs. Hume's pheasant. Very beautiful bird. In some of the zoos, you can find this bird. It's got a very, very long tail. There's very glossy blue, brown, and white. This bird occurs only in the Myanmar border, that is parts of Arunachal, Eastern Arunachal, Nagaland, Manipur, and Mizoram. Very beautiful birds. It's in Schedule 1, around 1,200 meters to 3,000 meters. It occurs in steep rocky slopes, open grass pine forest, and long grass bracken and bushes. Again, very little is known. All of whatever information is available is from the captive populations. Then we have another bird which is called the grey peacock pheasant. Looks like the peacock, but it's a pheasant. It doesn't lack those colors and the long train like the peacock itself. It is found only in the northeast India, parts of Arunachal Pradesh, Meghalaya, Manipur, Nagaland, Mizoram, and it is again lives only in tropical, moist, broadleaf forest and semi-evergreen forest, less than 1,200 meters. And this species also is not much studied, and but in elsewhere in the world, like in Southeast Asia, the peacock pheasants have been studied pretty well. And the last two species that I'm going to talk about are the Indian peafowl and the green peafowl. All of us have seen this bird, and I enjoyed the beauty of this bird. And this bird is found right from Jammu to Kanyakumari and from Gujarat to Assam. This bird is a very beautiful bird. Everybody is familiar. It has been in our culture, tradition, religion, and has been a very closely associated species with humans. It occurs in most of India, as I said just now. It likes to live in deciduous forests, near streams, sometimes agricultural lands. Today they are found predominantly in agricultural lands, less than 1,800 meters elevation. They don't go higher. And most of us have known about various stories about and so on and so forth. Despite all this, I think Indian peafowl is still to be studied. We don't have even a national estimate of population of Indian peafowl today. While the national animal, we have numbers, and I've repeated the exercises for 4 cycles. But for Indian peafowl, we have not done much. Only once in about 10, 15 years ago, Wildlife Institute of India did a nationwide questionnaire survey for Indian peafowl, and we got some assessments of how abundant this species is in the different parts of India, forest as well. But yes, we can try and do something about estimating the numbers and monitoring the population through citizen science. Another bird, as like the blue peafowl, is the green peafowl, and it's found only in Northeast India. The only difference between the blue and green is that this bird is mostly greenish, and you can see the differences in the color and uh, they're found only in little bits in northeast India, as you see here, Manipur and Mizoram. And this is found in about less than 10,000 meters in dense forests near streams and clearings. And again, not much has been done for this bird, but this bird has been studied in Southeast Asia because the distribution continues further southeast. So these are the 17 pheasants. Now, all these pheasants have some threats, dangers. First and the foremost is these birds are hunted for meat, because this is an easily available meat for poor people and tribal people living in these areas. They are also poached for trade. You might have seen that people have poached it for trade in pheasant feathers or skin or meat. Hunting by the locals for meat is there. There are also cases in India where pheasants have been killed, particularly peafowl, for raiding crops. And there are a lot of disturbances of people by people and pressures on the pheasant habitats. Dogs, feral dogs that go into the forest can predate on their nests, disturb the birds. This has been recorded in many places in the Himalaya. Pheasant habitats are also getting degraded, and we have lost habitats also due to various activities of humans, including developmental projects. And for all the pheasants, most of them live in Himalaya. Climate change is going to have a serious impact. And now we are doing some studies to understand what will happen to these birds if climate change is going to happen. How will they adapt or move? Now, what has the government of the country done to do for this conservation of this species? Internationally, yes, we have the IUCN Galliformes specialist groups. They bring out action plans to tell what species, what protection to be done. So if there's any species in India that needs protection, they highlight it, give funds for research and so on. But all the pheasants are protected as per the Indian Wildlife Protection Act. The government controls trades of these burning birds, including live trade. All our forest officers managing all these forest areas are doing their best to protect the areas. The frontline staff are patrolling to reduce poaching. So wildlife management measures are being taken. And as per the directions of the Central Zoo Authority, conservation breeding programs of pheasants have been initiated for different zoos in the country, like Sri Venkateswara Zoological Park identified as a focal for the conservation breeding of Grey Junglefowl. And there are lots of education and awareness going on for conservation of pheasants, including this one that we are discussing today. Now, coming to the second part of my talk, that is on the Grey Junglefowl and about the Red Junglefowl in particular. The Grey Junglefowl, as all of you have seen in this picture, is also unique in one way, in the sense that the feathers around the neck of this bird are dark, they are long, and they have this yellowish plate, as you see here. And this has made this bird famous because these feathers were once used to make fishing high-grade flyers. So when Britishers used to do angling in India, they used to use the feather of the Grey Junglefowl as a bait in the hook and then do fishing. And they said that this was one of the best high-grade flyers that was successful in getting fishes, and it was very nicely. Today, this is not being done, but today the same pattern has been artificially made by certain organizations in US and all, and they use it. Otherwise, in the past, yes, this neck feathers were very much used for angling as a sport. Now, coming to our day-to-day affair of a bird that has lived with us and been with us. Chicken. Now, chicken is an animal that has been domesticated and repeatedly selectively bred by humans for our own purposes. So this is one of the earliest animals that probably man domesticated. He domesticated cattle, domesticated goats, domesticated pigs, buffaloes. Also, the chicken was probably the one of the earliest. Now, we know this chicken did not come from anywhere else but from the red jungle fowl or the grey jungle fowl. And that's why I'm going to talk about the importance of these ancestors for the chicken, for the economy of this country, and food security of this country. Now, we know that our early men had domesticated red jungle fowl, grey jungle fowl, and they had bred their between them and so on, and then they got chicken. And today we have got varieties of chickens, which I'll show you, and why we need to protect and conserve the wild ancestors. So if you look at chicken in the history of mankind, it's there everywhere in the society, even in many parts of southern India, including Andhra Pradesh, fights which are happening in rural sport. And this is one way of identifying good stocks that can help in improving the country chicken production and production of country eggs. Chicken has been very well studied. Domestic chickens have been very well studied in the research part, including biotechnology. I'll come to that later. But we look at our civilization, right from about for almost 8,000 years ago, chicken has got references in the literature, in carvings, in seals of Roman Empire, the Faberge egg, all those things. So we have got associated that way with this bird for a very, very long time. But today's economy is chicken. Chicken is consumed more than other meat anywhere in the world. Almost 65 billion chickens are raised annually for meat in this world, and over 80 million metric tons for egg. Chicken eggs are for human consumption have been produced, because we know that egg is one of the easiest forms of animal protein that humans. For meat production and this egg production, we have a very large poultry industry in this country that's catering to the needs of the people. At the same time, we also have to be aware that there are diseases that threaten our domestic poultry and also humans. Very recently, we got a news that avian flu had transmitted to a human in China. But whenever avian flu attacks our birds, then government has to kill thousands and thousands of chicken in our country to make sure that it doesn't spread to other birds. Although water birds are moving, migratory water birds bring in these viruses, but our chicken are very much susceptible. So this is a bird that is linked to our economy, to our culture, to our traditions, and we need to really look at protecting these, conserving the domestic chicken, but have to look at the wild ancestors. As I said, chicken is everywhere. And if you look at the chicken or the fowl, you find it in religion, like in the flag of Lord Subramanya, or the Faberge, the Easter eggs that we call, and the Roman seals. China had celebrated the year of the rooster with a series of stamps on chicken. And chicken is in the form of logos of several sporting clubs and also postage stamps of several countries. Now, today, if you see, I'll give you some highlights which are really, really wonderful. This is the first bird and first agriculture animal to have its entire genome sequenced and analyzed, the chicken. And as a study animal, it has given perspectives on vertebrate evolution under the International Chicken Genome Consortium. It has been used as an animal for studying various diseases like the cancer, malaria, and so on and so forth. So this bird is a very important bird for us today. It's capable of selectively breeding. We have got several varieties of domestic chicken in the world. There are over 500 varieties of birds which have their own unique characteristics. Like you see the pictures, there are very, very different kinds of breeds that we have, which are useful for various ways. Some are beautiful as pet animals, and some are very good as layers. For example, the silky bantam. It's a very good bird as a layer, and you can see some birds selectively bred for feathers even in their legs. So they are silky bantams are excellent for as foster mothers. So these are widely used in various parts of the world. And you can see some unusual varieties here, like the one which is a very big comb with the fluffy birds, one bird without any feathers on the neck. a chicken without a tail feathers, and so on and so forth. But the most amazing of all is this extreme example of selective breeding, which is a Japanese variety called Onogadori. It has been selectively bred for long tail feathers, and it is known to have a tail feather of at least 25 feet long, as you see in this picture. So man has selectively bred these animals and has kept it for various purposes. Now, if you look at the jungle fowl per se, this this map shows us the different jungle fowls of the world. Now, in India, you have the Indian jungle fowl, which is the red jungle fowl. And then this yellow line you see is the one that divides the red jungle fowl from the gray jungle fowl. And this two are reciprocally, I mean, I think they complement each other on the north and the south. There's one bird in Sri Lanka, which is the Ceylon jungle fowl. Then you have the Burmese red jungle fowl. Then you have the Tonkinese red. And then finally in Southeast Asia, we have the Cochin Chinese red jungle fowl. So these are the different types of jungle fowls we have in the world. So many of maybe all of them were ancestors, or only the red jungle fowl was the ancestor. So this is something that research is going on to identify how things have happened. Now, if you see the very first evidence that we got was that by Fumito et al. In 1996. He says that chicken were primarily domesticated from red jungle fowl, but later on people got some genetic contributions from the grey jungle fowl, Ceylon jungle fowl, green jungle fowl, and they say that the domestication happened 8,000 years ago and probably occurred as not as one event but as several events across. And this is quite understandable because man, when they settled down for agriculture and started domesticating animals, this must have happened in many parts of the world, in Asia largely. Then in 1999, Doctors Peterson Townsend and Leher Brisbane wrote a paper saying that there is no longer wild red jungle fowl in India because there is a lot of hybridization happening between domestic chicken and red jungle fowl. See, as you see in this picture, red jungle fowl and domestic chicken, and there are some cases where here in Orissa, we found that people have collected red jungle fowl eggs and kept it along with domestic chicken foster mother to raise. So this kind of things keep happening, but the wild chicks usually run back to the wild. They don't survive. But here also you can see that there's a lot of intermixing happening. So they propose that there is no wild red jungle fowl because there's a lot of back crossing would have occurred, interbreeding would have occurred. So there is no longer a red jungle fowl in India because people are living all over the country and there might have been various places where this mixing must have taken up. Then Nishoburi et al. In 2005 published a paper saying that red jungle fowl is the direct ancestor of chicken, and they found that there has been interspecies hybridizations between grey jungle fowl and red jungle fowl, and between red jungle fowl and chicken, and grey jungle fowl and Ceylon jungle fowl. See how much of hybridization has taken between wild as well as wild and domestic, and within India between the two jungle fowls and also the neighboring Ceylon jungle fowl. This is all based on molecular data analysis, mitochondrial D-loop analysis. So at this stage, then one more paper came in 2008 that was saying that chicken that have genes from the grey jungle fowl will always have yellow tinge in the skin and flesh. This is the one that really nailed the fact that grey jungle fowl is definitely contributed to the domestic chicken, because this yellow skin gene is found only in grey jungle fowl. So whenever we buy chicken and when we open the animal or cook, when we see this yellow skin or meat is yellow, the flesh is yellow, that means definitely it has got the genes of the grey jungle fowl. So definitely the yellow skin from the grey jungle fowl has come to the chicken. So there has been hybridization. This has been proven. But Wildlife Institute of India in the year 2006 to 10, we carried out a project on conservation of red jungle fowl because we were aware of the threat that hybridization between domestic and wild were happening. Two of my research students, Dr. Mervin and Dr. Mukesh, along with our collaborators, Dr. Rahul and Dr. Raji, we did this work, and we began with this simple distribution map of Dr. Salim Ali and Ripley, where he has shown that all the green is red junglefowl and the yellow is grey junglefowl. This is more or less correct even till today. Only thing, the distribution is shrunk in many places. But yes, they have shown up to Mount Abu, and they have shown it here near ending near Andhra Pradesh. But this line you see here, there are some places where red junglefowl and grey junglefowl occur together in wild. In fact, Dr. Salim Ali Saab also says that he has seen a hybrid between in the wild between grey and red in a place called Beraghat in Madhya Pradesh. And if you see these two birds, they are widely distributed. They have distinct geographical areas and habitats. They are forest obligate species. They are shy and undergrowth dependent. Now, if you look at the study that we did, we looked at modeling the distribution of red junglefowl and grey junglefowl using software called Maxent, and we found that the factor that determined distribution of red junglefowl in India was precipitation, as shown in this map. And we also did for the grey junglefowl, and the factor that determined the distribution of grey junglefowl was temperature, seasonality, and precipitation. These are the major factors. And when you integrate both of them, this is the final distribution map of recent years about the grey junglefowl and red junglefowl. So all the red or reddish tinge you see is all the red junglefowl. So you have one in the north connected through Nepal to Northeast India, and one probably the central and east divide in this area. But and the darker the area, the abundance is, or the probability is higher. The lighter the area, it will be very less. So the light blue areas or areas where grey junglefowl would be there, but not high probability. But you see all Western Ghats and up to Mount Abu, and here you have the grey junglefowl. So the distributions have definitely come down. But the most interesting fact that I would like to tell here is that in the erstwhile Andhra Pradesh, we have both red and grey. And there are some places where red junglefowl is sharing habitats, like for example, Kaval in the northern part of erstwhile Andhra Pradesh has got both. I think Andhra Pradesh is probably one of the only one southern state which would probably have both red and grey junglefowl. And we need to make sure that such areas are protected for long-term conservation. So to look at hybridization, our team collected blood samples of all the red junglefowl in captivity and also from the wild, and we used those samples to do the genetic studies. And we found that in India, we have about the red junglefowl population is in three parts. The northern, as I said, along the foothills of Himalaya, north of the Ganges, along the Ganges Gangetic Plain till North Bengal. And then we have one subspecies in Northeast India. And then the central and Eastern India, Southeast India, we have the red junglefowl. And we also found which population is probably very close to the domestic chicken. And it came out that Northeast India and the domestic chicken were very close in genetic distance wise. And this, based on structural analysis, we found that there's a lot of integration of domestic genes in the wild of Northeast India. And this is one reason why we think Northeast India, the junction of Northeast India, Myanmar, and China, could be one of the centers of domestication. That has been found out from our study. We also collected samples from the zoos of India and found the zoos, the stocks have been contaminated because of domestic chicken or some inbreeding. A lot of inbreeding has taken place, or accidental mix up with domestic chicken, probably foster mothers or something like that has happened. And so we don't have a very good red junglefowl stock in the wild, the captive situations, excepting for some conservation breeding centers and zoos where they are maintaining the pure red junglefowl populations. Now, our own study, we could find out that domestication would have happened everywhere in India in all possible ways, because people moved, birds were moved, And this is not happening in the last 50 or 100 years. It has been happening for the last thousands of years. And so, but one thing is very clear is that this mixture of genes of wild and domestic in India is largely because of that of this landscape feature was not at all a barrier. People exchange birds, and so we had these domestic chicken and red jungle fowl mixture admixture in many places, but the levels varied, and Northeast India is probably the one of the centers of domestication. Later on, more research happened when DNA technology improved with help of full genome sequencing and all. This article by Lowell et al. Says that they studied the ancestry of chicken with reference to the four wild jungle fowls, and they found that there is a sister relationship between grey jungle fowl and Sinol jungle fowl. We originally thought that because it is Sri Lanka and peninsular India is closer, we thought it could be same, but actually it is more closer to red jungle fowl than the grey jungle fowl. And there's been contribution from uh, grey jungle fowl and Ceylon domestication. So they're talking about excellent and mixture of uh, varieties of birds with the wild, both Ceylon as well as grey jungle fowl has led to this domestication. But Ceylon jungle fowl did not have a much bigger role in domestication of chicken. And one of the recent papers again about the domestication hypothesis that we're looking at based on genome sequencing, we looked at red jungle fowl as well as grey jungle fowl and other jungle fowls in the world and found that the grey jungle fowls in India are not showing that much of hybridization or integration with domestic genes. This is a very good news, and we all need to be happy about this. Particularly the populations in Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Kerala, Karnataka. These birds the northern part maybe a different subspecies, but all these grey junglefowl populations have somehow managed to retain their unique genetic makeup. And we need to protect the grey junglefowl in the wild as much as possible and avoid interbreeding and prevent accidental inbreeding also between these birds. And why we need to conserve these birds is that in the future, if a bird flu like virus or some other big virus comes in and wipes out our domestic chicken population, we need to go back to our ancestral birds and then get to improve our breed again. So our wild ancestors are very important to continue our domestic birds for our day-to-day health. With this word, I thank you all for your kind attention. And if there are any questions, I'll be very happy to right now, or if there is a chat box, you can put in your questions or send an email to the Sri Venkateswara Zoo for replies to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for giving an overview of pheasants in India and conservation status of pheasants and giving an insight on domestication of chicken with regard to grey junglefowl and red junglefowl. Thank you very much. It is very informative. Huh? Is it okay now? Wait. Is it okay now? Fine. Yeah. Sir, thank you very much, sir. Yeah. Sir, next, I would like to call upon our next speaker, Dr. M.C.Satyanarayana, to talk on the ecology behavior of grey junglefowl. Dr. M.C.Satyanarayana is a retired associate professor in the Department of Zoology and Wildlife Biology in A.V.C.College, Tamil Nadu. He has undertaken major research projects on ecology and conservation of grey junglefowl at Theni Forest Division, Western Ghats, Tamil Nadu. And he has many students who have worked on grey junglefowl, and he has published papers on ecology, microhabitat use by grey junglefowl, and anthropogenic pressures on grey junglefowl, etc. So over to you, sir.
Shall I just share?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. It's okay? Visible? Hello?
Yes, sir. We can see the screen, sir. You should put on show mode,
Yeah,
presentation mode.
yeah. No. No, it's not visible to me. Okay, I will do it.
I can see the slide, but it is not in the slideshow mode.
Yeah, that I chose. I think they can do it. I think that we have planned already. I think I can request them, Vimal, because there's some compatibility problem. Morning we check. Vimal, you can just present it. So I say next. There's, I think what happened, some problem, compatibility. It's not coming there. Okay, let's start. So, good day to everybody. I'm very glad that Sri Venkateshwara. Okay. Okay. So, good day to everybody. Uh, Thank you very much, Shailaja, the curator of the Sri Venkateshwara Zoological Park. And I'm also very glad that my academic asset, Dr. Satyakumar from Wildlife Institute of India, has presented very nicely on the conservation of pheasants and the breeding of the chicks. Now, I have just actually worked with the A.V.C.College, where we have the MSc in Wildlife Biology and Zoology. And after retirement, I've just settled at Chennai. Next. Okay, now I am interested in the Grey Junglefowl. It's also called as the sonneratii Junglefowl. It is actually today I'm going to concentrate on the behavior, the threats and conservation. Now why I have just chosen this Grey Junglefowl. When I visited the Mundadurai Kalakkadu in Tamil Nadu and also Budumalai Wildlife Sanctuary and Srivilliputturu Grizzly squirrel, when my students are working with the various animals like elephants and the grizzly giant squirrel and the Nilgalangu, I am fascinated by seeing this junglefowl. Why not? I can take up some studies with this Grey Junglefowl. Next. Okay. Now, throughout the world, we have 4 species of the junglefowl. Already Satyakumar highlighted all the red junglefowl, Sri Lankan, Gallus various, and Grey Junglefowl. Next. Okay, now India already, as Satyakumar told you, that there are 2 species, especially the Grey Junglefowl in the central and south India and red junglefowl in the northeast India. Next. Okay, now you all know that the Grey Junglefowl is a ground-dwelling bird. That means most of the time they spend on the ground. Where one can easily, we can have a sexual type. That means we can easily identify a male and female. There is a difference between the male and female. Next. Now, one important thing is that your Grey Junglefowl is a very beautiful bird. If you look at the adult male, one capping feature of already Satyakumar highlighted that there is a black cape. That means a short neck feathers. You can just see on the neck of this bird like a shawl. It is a separated one. You can have this one neck feather. They will end in a small, hard and yellowish plate. You can look at this enlarged one, a small plate, and you have a sickle-shaped tail. It is called central tail, long train feathers, and your leg is red in color. And the character feature of the male is the spur. The spur is present only in male, not in the female. This is all the very important feature. Though it's a very beautiful, it got its negative aspect, impact, I let it go upwards. Next. Okay. Now this is what we can see the neck circles. How beautiful it is that when you just showing all to that, and these neck feathers are separate with the section like a shawl. That's called ochre. Next. Now, one important thing is that if you look at this head region, you have a comb. This comb is slightly dented, like this dent is here. And if you look at the iris, it's a deep orange in color. If you have wattle also very important. They are all the enlarged areas of the facial skin. And what did they indicate? What is their biological signal important? This will indicate the sexual or aggression signals. Very, very important for this. So some of the pictures I have just downloaded from the internet, and also I just courtesy to them, Abhishek and also Rajkumar from the Pudukkottai. He is also a very good wildlife photographer. Next. Now, what about these subadults actually vary from the adult male? Look at this bird, which actually can have the wings, and how can identify very easily in the field. You look at the spur and also the color of the legs. It is not red in color, and also spur is not well developed, and you can also see the neck feathers. So this is we can just differentiate subadult to the adult males. Next. Okay, now coming to the female. All right, look, that's a sexual dimorphism. That way you can one can very easily differentiate between a male and female. If you look at the adult female, there are shades of golden and medium brown, rufous orange shawl. See, look at this shawl. This is also a brown color and a golden mixed. And look at these breasts. Underneath, you have white breast feathers, which broadly edged in black color. Okay, this is actually they lack the spur. The color is not red in color. You can see that creamy color or yellowish in color, and you can have the chick. Next. Okay, now coming to the distribution of that. So already Satyakumar told you it is an endemic species. That means one can find this Grey Junglefowl only in India, and this distribution, if you look at this in India, throughout the Western Ghats, in the Tamil Nadu part, Kerala and Karnataka, you get that. And also if you look at this Andhra Pradesh, the distribution is that up to the far as the Godavari river, and you can have the up to the Mount Abu in Rajasthan. You have in the we have the Gujarat, all those areas. We have the distribution of this Grey Junglefowl. Next. Now, regarding the conservation status, it is the least concern actually reported by the International Union for Conservation of the Nature and Natural Resources. Next. Okay, now we are coming to the habitat. Actually, where one can find this Grey Junglefowl. Only Satyakumar the royal reaches of this forest habitat. So we have just actually, we have started a long-term project, maybe the two projects from the University Grants Commission, and one is from the Minister of Environment and Forest. And we have also designed, when we are having a Great Himal National Workshop organized by Satyakumar Wildlife Institute of India, we had at that time I got the project from the Minister of Environment. We want to have a plan. We have a program for that. We are sitting with the Kuresh Kumar and also Satyakumar, and we decide how to carry out our conservation project in the Theni Forest Division, Tamil Nadu. One can see in the Theni Forest Division, the southern part of Tamil Nadu, we have the various habitat right from the moist deciduous to dry mix, and we have the scrub forest, and we have the mixed miscellaneous forest on the abundant plantations. Next. Okay, now actually I would like to highlight that we have just actually carried out these studies. These studies, when we carried out, we actually in the different habitats, what we come across that the lower reaches, say up to the 350 to 700 meters elevations, one can find very well good population of the Grey Junglefowl because of the presence of the habitat suitable for them, mainly the abundant forest and the dry deciduous forest. And actually, Satyakumar told you that because this is a ground-dwelling bird, and they require the shrub cover and intercept with the open land. And actually, the canopy cover should be not more than 40%. we must provide the litter cover should be there, because litter provides a lot of insect diversity, so that the diet is provided by this litter cover. So we must have a shrub cover, and the litter cover depth will be not less than the 4 centimeter. These are the various variables play a very good role in the establishing the good population of the Grey Junglefowl. Now coming to the social behavior, they are all social animals. They are group living animal. We can see the male and female together, and this is what the behavior of the social behavior of the animals. Next. Next. Next, Vimal. Next. Vimal. Are you able to hear? Ah, okay. Sorry. Coming to the now we are going to have talk on the foraging behavior. Okay. Now what is the wait. I just say next. No. Go back. Go back. All right. Stop it. Now the foraging behavior. Actually, the Grey Junglefowl feeding behavior is known as the foraging. This is ecological term. We term it as the foraging behavior of this animal. This is the male actually feeding on the insects. Next. Okay. Now, one interesting thing, while both the male and female are feeding, at a time they won't feed during the, especially when the pairing or breeding. Actually, the female is without feeding, watching something else, whereas the male is actually feeding something. Now, what is the behavior of this? Actually, this is called an excellent understanding between the partners. They have got the good vigilant behavior, because they are worried about any predators or any intruder, any stranger coming and disturbing them, or them attacking that. So this is an excellent behavior which we have observed in the Teni Forest Division. They have very good understanding. This is called the vigilant behavior or vigilance behavior among the birds. Next. Okay, now coming to that, the Grey Junglefowl feeds very well on the lantana fruits. Actually, that's what we encourage, the presence of the lantana fruit. Though we say that the lantana is an unwanted species, weed, whatever the term, alien species, again we have to, when you have a management program, to uproot or to remove or eradicate lantana, which people have designated like adjectives, unwanted, weed, all those things, because we have to study what is the utilization of this biodiversity, not only leave alone Grey Junglefowl, whatever the other species depending on this, the lantana, and one has to study that. What I come across in the Teni Forest Description, Grey Junglefowl loves to feed on the lantana. Along with the Grey Junglefowl, other birds also, the frugivorous birds also depend on the lantana. So we must take a caution on when you want to uproot or you have to just remove the lantana or any other species in the name of in terms of the unwanted or weed, whatever. So we have to take long-term studies on that. So economical value of this, or one has to study the economics of this so-called weed or alien species or unwanted species. Next. Now, they also eat on some of the berries. Next. Okay. Now they also go to the tree tops and feed on some of the fruits of the species. Next. Okay. Now I just actually now very recently I'm going through the Sangam literature, and when you go to Sangam literature, see the people are giving very importance to the Grey Junglefowl. So now we study about the wildlife biology and the conservation, biodiversity conservation of Grey Junglefowl or Red Junglefowl, whatever it may be. One cannot imagine that even to go thousands of years back. Look at the Sangam literature. They have a discussion about the Grey Junglefowl. Whenever there is have a bamboo, what happened? These blossoms. What happened when we have the seeding season? It will happen in 60 years. One species of the bamboo occurs in 60 years. That time one can find very easily the Grey Junglefowl feeding on the bamboo seeds. The other one very important, the kurinji. This kurinji species once in the bloom is 12 years, and that time you can also see one can find the Grey Junglefowl in plenty. And in Sangam literature they also describe the Grey Junglefowl as Varanam in Tamil. Next species, next one. Okay, now the Grey Junglefowl also probes the elephant dung. So whenever we have the tiny forest, we are not much of the elephant population. Only some seasons the elephant come in a small population come up that, and when there is a dung is there, they probe for the insects available there. So they feed on the insects there, and other worms also they feed. Next. Okay, now this again, whenever there's a cattle dung, they also just probe the cattle dung, and also they will search for the insects. This is called the animal protein, they get it. So animal matter they get from this cattle and the elephant dung. Okay, now they also feed on some of the reptiles, the small snakes, on that very occasional, not very common. It's very occasionally they also feed on that. Next. Okay, now we could not directly found out what are the animal species preferred by this junglefowl. What we usually do is that we just collect the droppings or the whatever you say the fecal droppings of the bird. We collect them, we just dry it, we segregate the undigested insect parts. Usually we know that the insect, there are some hard part, the skeletal structure. For example, we have the undigested leg, the chelicera, whatever elytra, all those things are not digestible. So undigested. So we say when you segregate, you get these parts of the insect. As many as 46 species of the insects are eaten, are in the diet of the Grey Junglefowl, we found out. Next. Okay, now, when you examine the dropping, not only the insects parts, we also found the seeds of number of species of the plants. As many as 51 plant species are preferred by this Grey Junglefowl. And this is what we say that indirect evidences, diet analysis. One cannot catch, we cannot trap, and we can kill the Grey Junglefowl in order to study the diet of the Grey Junglefowl. These are the indirect way of analyzing your diet. Next. Okay. Now, when you have a proportion, what is the proportion of this animal matter and the plant matter? We found out that the animal matter is 31%. When you have the plant matter, 50%. So that means majorly they depend on the plant matter. In addition to this food, they also swallow. They also take the grit. The grit is nothing but the small like sand particles. So why they take in order to have in the gizzard, they have to grind some of the hard material like seeds, other things. So we have in almost all the Galliformes, whatever the seed eating bird, we have this the grit. They also, but some people say that in literature I found out that they also consume the minerals. In order to have get some mineral, they will also get the grit along with the food. Next. Okay, coming to the communication behavior, very important, excellent communication behavior in the Grey Junglefowl. They were very noisy. When they will say cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo like that. All heard almost year round. And sometimes the breeding season will be continuous. Other times, not much. Next. Okay, now what we did when we were doing our research programs, we have recorded the calls of these birds, separately adult males and the females, and also during the breeding season. What we did is we recorded the call, and we actually had a program like the sonogram. These are the sonogram. We have the sirens program. What we did is whatever we have the MPG, we converted to wave files, and the wave files, when you just apply to this sirens program, you get your call. Excellent. See, look at this crowing behavior during breeding season. You can see the frequency of this and intervals. Same intervals, no, without watch, without any alarm clock, whatever it may be. You can see this is the wonder of the nature, the Grey Junglefowl. One has to appreciate studying the sonogram. We have to, much importance should be given to study on the call behavior, excellent behavior which we come across on that. Next. Now you see the pattern of this same adult male. When you have alarm call, you can see this, the pattern of this call very close, because of in panic they have to say cuckoo, 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 like that. So that is why you get the pattern like this, alarm calls. Next. Okay. Now you see that female alarm calls also. You can see this also cuckoo, 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 very pattern is we can have the alarm call pattern and we have the breathing call pattern. Next. Now before that I want to take that So this sonotraction is a very, very important. You can also identify by using this, whatever you have, the recording sonogram, which one can find identify the bird species also. And also I'm advocating to the colleges where we have the practical, we will have the spotter identification. Most of the students are just given the museum specimen, which are preserved 50 years, 100 years back. They're all faded. And if you see the taxidermed animal specimens in the museum, almost the colors are faded. There is no original color. They keep it that, and the students, they say the Grey Junglefowl color, they explain theoretically, but what we have kept is entirely faded. So one has to be very, very cautious about that. So that's why we are now encouraging for the colleges, why not include in your curriculum, identifying the bird by way of the calls like this. Excellent one. If our teachers are there, you can also just say, include in the curriculum that identifying of the birds and animals by way of the calls. Next one. Okay. Already told you vigilant behavior. Now look at this vigilant behavior, how the bird, they're vigilant when they're while doing the feeding or in the field. So already I explained you what is a vigilant behavior. Next. Okay, now coming to the breeding behavior. During the breeding behavior, they form a breeding pair. A male just pairs with the female. So you can look at this male and female pair, or we call it say male and female pair bonds, breeding pair. Next one. Now the breeding plumage. If you look at the breeding, already told you during the breeding season, you have well-developed ochre or the neck feathers, which the all golden or yellowish plates, and you have the wing feathers. You have the well-developed the sickle shape or the elongated central feather, and leg is red in color. The rattle and the comb are well developed. These are the brooding plumage and the character feature of this junglefowl. Next. Okay, now during the breeding season, what happened? The male displaces. You can just see the behavior of this, and sometimes they also already showed you neck feather, the ochre coming forward, and they were showing so that they say, look at me, look at my physique. So that is what we have, like swimara. So to show the physical strength of the males, and by showing that the female chooses the partner, this is all the male display behavior. Next. Okay, now this again about the breeding, how they pair with each other in the field. Look at the pairing of the birds. Like now, this again just the breeding pair of the how they feed on the ground insects, other small seeds on that. Next. Okay, next. Okay, now what happened then? After breeding, they all breeding all those things. They have a good understanding. They go to the obscure places, hidden places, so that we won't disturb for the mating purposes. We are not able to see the mating of the both male and female in the field. So they will, after that, they will go to the obscure place for the mating. Next. Next. Okay, now we have a territorial behavior. Territorial conflicts are there. We come across some of the interaction between the, if there is any, because there are territorial animals. During the breeding season, each male maintains a small territory for a maintaining of the male and female band, so that they won't allow the others. Disturbance may not be there. That is called the territorial conflict. This behavior also well seen in the case of the Grey Junglefowl. Next. Okay, now coming to the egg lay. So usually the clutch size is 1 to 5 eggs. So after the mating during the breeding season, so breeding season comes from the December to May, and they will lay creamy 5 eggs. They are all ground dwelling bird and ground nesting bird. So nest will be like that with the dried leaves. They will be there. 5 eggs, creamy eggs. Next. Okay, now if you look at this, what is the total incubation period for that? It will be 21 to 22 days. Usually, like your chicken, 22 days. Only the female involves in the incubation, like this. Next. Okay. Now, after this 22 days, the chick hatches out from the egg. This is the eggshell. This is the chick. Next. Okay, now this is what enlarged portion of the chick, which is actually different from the adult. Look at the chick coloration, black color and white. Usually these are called the natal feathers. And next one. Okay, now one important thing when you come to the other behavior of the breeding behavior, the parental care. Whether there will be both parents invest their energy in caring of the young ones or the chicks, or only male involves in that, or the female. This is called male investment and the female investment. In the case of Grey Junglefowl, there is only female investment in the parental care. Males do not involve in the parental care. Next. Okay, now coming to the roosting behavior. The roosting behavior, already Satyakumar told that for the during after the evening hour 6 o'clock, when you want to sleep, they cannot sleep on the ground. They go to the tall trees. They prefer tall trees. They'll be very tall. They go there and roost after feeding in the and say dusk to dawn. So what happened after feeding that? This is preferred by the Grey Junglefowl, various species, bambusa, or santalam, aslaba, or Selicelia oreata. These are various species preferred by the junglefowl in the Tene forest division. Next. Okay. Now coming to the threats and conservation problems. Okay. Now there are various anthropogenic pressures the Grey Junglefowl facing in the Tene forest division. I will just deal one by one. Next. Okay. Now, one important thing is we come on stealing of eggs. The people used to steal these eggs from the nesting site during breeding season. Even we have seen the school children also, it seems, that we heard that the school children also steal these eggs from the field. Next. Okay, now they're coming for the poaching of the Grey Junglefowl for the meat for local consumption. So when my research scholars, they were in the field, they heard that from the local people that they used to poach. How they will poach the incubating female? It's very easy to poach the incubating female. They take the gunny bag and just they will put it on the incubating without disturbing them. They will catch the female or the incubating female. This is the method they are adopted in order to catch. This only for local meat purpose. Next. Okay, now in addition to that, there are some of the poachers. They also hunt for various, not only for junglefowl, all the animals they go for that poaching of the Grey Junglefowl for that, thinking that the Grey Junglefowl meat is a very, very medicinal value. It's a misbelief. And also this report has come in, not about junglefowl, it's a general news come out the Times of India, a report by Arogya Raja. Next. Now they're also using some of the snares for the junglefowl other animals. See, now it is not a junglefowl, they cannot get only, they get some stool in that. This is a ring-like structure. The snares also they put in order to just trap the junglefowl in the Tene forest division. Next. Okay, now the poaching of the junglefowl, they were actually, Satyakumar has very well said that how these neck feathers are used in order to attract the fishing. So especially British or the people who have just started using of these the artificial leaves or artificial feathers of the thing in order to attract the fish. Earlier, people used to poach number of Grey Junglefowl and they used to export these feathers. But I will tell you, come to the conservation. So they were earlier, they used to poach, and during the British regime, they used to hunt these Grey Junglefowl and get the neck feathers, and then they make use of these for their fishing as a lure. Next. Next one. The next. Okay, now this is what Satyakumar also showed you picture. They have the beautiful egg feathers. Now we are very happy that the Grey Junglefowl is very beautiful, wonderful bird with all the beautiful feathers, colorful feathers, all those things. They have the neck feathers, all those things. But they don't know that people is going to poach us because of their characteristic feature of the neck feathers. So the beautiful neck feathers are preferred by the fly tyers, people who make the fishing lure. They are known as the fly tyers. So because of the bright and coloring feathers like this, what they will do is, this is a valuable market for the making lures or for the fishing industry. They were using for the salmon and trout feathers. in the UK, very famous. That's why they're using this, making the attractive lures. Next one. Okay, now the other problem is the cattle problem. Now we can have the hundreds of cattle entering the Teni Forest division. Now I want to highlight, because when you're talking about that, we started in 2002, 2005 this project. At that time, the status of the Teni Forest division is not a wildlife sanctuary, but it is only a reserve forest. The other problem in this reserve forest area is that in Teni Forest division, we have the reserve land and we have the ex-jamin land. Because you know that ex-jamin and the reserve land is not maintained by the forest department those days. This has been maintained by the revenue department. So there are a lot of problems because revenue department is not coordinating with the forest department. So the people used to take advantage of this reserve land, ex-jamin land, and they encroach a lot of the forest department. I come to that. So the cattle entering the forest area, these are the habitat for good habitat for Grey Junglefowl. This is called the plantations are there. Earlier in the British regime, we have the tree species called Sonneratii olacea. This is actually they're doing the wax. In order to have the wax, they have the insect. So we get the sealing wax. They were manufacturing the sealing wax from that. So from that they planted the Sonneratii olacea. This is called, we say, miscellaneous and plantation. So again, thanks to Satyakumar, where we suggested to have a what is the twin span program for the all the plants. We had a very good combinations of the moist mist, dry deciduous forest, scrub forest, and this is what we got it as a miscellaneous and plantation habitat where we get a good form of Grey Junglefowl. So when the cattle enters to that, already I told you, Satyakumar also emphasized that the litter is very, very important for this Grey Junglefowl because litter provides a very good insect fauna. When you go this, all this becomes very dry and becomes trampling will there. They will spoil all this, whatever you have the litter, and we should not allow this the cattle. In spite of that, the cattle is the biggest problem in most of the habitats. Next one. Okay, now the illegal people also enter into the forest area because of the reserve forest and the reserve land. They used to hunt the junglefowl those days. Next one. For the local consumption of the meat. Okay, now the other part of the wood collection. Now, in Tamil Nadu, the state government has allowed for the local people to have a head load of the wood can be collected. But actually, if we inspect this head load, this is not only ticks. See, those days, the people of villages nearby are allowed to collect only the fallen twigs of that. But when we check that load, there may be twigs will be one or two. Mostly the wood logs will be there. And this is a very pity again. That is why we have a degradation of the forest. Next one. Lopping of the wood again. See, they have the head load. Again, the problem is how the deforestation occurs. The wood logging is there. So we have a lot of wood cutting in those areas. Next one. Next. Now, again, we have the temple right inside this reserve forest. And whenever we have the pilgrimage, or whenever we have the functions, religious functions, the hundreds, thousands of people come to these temples and perform. They damage the habitat of the Grey Junglefowl and other diversity of the animals. Next one. Now, they also during this religious function, they have the horn speakers. And you think about those days, horn speakers, and they make a lot of noise, and it's a disturbance to the jungle fauna and the wild animals. Next one. Okay, now this is all I told you, religious gathering. Look at this gathering. Thousands of them gather during religious theme, and they use all this, whatever available in the forest area for making the pongal, offering to the god, all those things. And you think about the fate of the junglefowl and other wildlife. Next one. Next. Okay, now, so religious, we can have the grassland habitat, and the other habitat also actually damaged because of these very religious functions. Next. Okay, now, the other thing is the farming of the roads inside the reserve forest. So they put all the metal roads in that, and the metal roads, when a metal road, there is a degradation habitat available for the junglefowl. Next one. Next one. No, this is also the same thing. Road formation in the Teni Forest Division. and they get a lot of damage to the habitat of the grey junglefowl. Next. Okay, now I usually used to ask who is responsible for that. Is it a grey junglefowl? It's a man, you and I, or we, and who is responsible? Who is the managers of the forest or the managers of the wildlife sanctuary? Next one. Now, one is that one important thing I always highlight that we are ignoring number of animal protection laws. We never studied in our school curriculum. In school curriculum, we may have some of the laws, but what I used to emphasize that we must have a one chapter on the legal protection to the animals. So our national already recognized. How many of us know that 51 AG? This is the Constitution of India. If you are a citizen of India, it shall be the duty of every citizen of India to protect and improve the natural environment, including forest, lakes, rivers, and wildlife, and to have a compassion for all living things. Because we are ignoring the fundamental law, we are not giving importance to the protection of the animals. Next one. Now, already told you that animal protection laws and regulations. How many of you are aware of the legal protection? There are a number of national laws and regulations. So ignorance of laws and regulations is not an excuse. As a citizen of India, you are supposed to know all the legal protection to the animals. Next one. And now again, I used to ask Martha, how many of you know the Indian Wildlife Protection Act 1972? And I'm happy that the government of India has given legal protection to the grey junglefowl. It has been included in the Schedule 2 of the Part 2 of the Wildlife Act 1972. And again, I told you that some of people say the Schedule 4. Actually, in the Wildlife Act 1972, I have gone through that critically. They are also included in the Schedule 4 as a junglefowl. They are not mentioned as a grey junglefowl or red junglefowl. Simply, they mentioned as the junglefowl. And already I had a discussion with Satyakumar. They said, we are updating that. Already, Government of India, we had a discussion that we are going to remove all those things, whatever the overlap, we are going to remove. Now, as far as that, if you look at this Wildlife Act, it is in the Schedule 2 or 2 Indian Wildlife Protection Act. And what is that legal protection? Hunting, killing of the grey junglefowl is prohibited. There is a punishment. You will be imprisoned 3 to 7 years and fine up to 10,000 rupees. And now, as per this law, export of this grey junglefowl, maybe the junglefowl or their feathers, neck feathers, are not allowed to export these things. And again, in the sites, they also include listed convention on the international trade in endangered species, wild fauna and flora, including. And again, I want to highlight here. Now, sites want to remove this status. They don't want to remove it from the listing of the sites. So already there are discussions going on. They want to remove it in the sites. And I request Satyakumar and Wildlife people and the Minister of Environment, please kindly have a discussion with site, because they say that the jungle population is not going down above the 30% level. This is the criteria chosen by the BirdLife International also. So this is the criteria they selected. So they want sites want they remove. Still in 2012 they had a discussion, and I don't know what is the status of that. And we'll see that it should be their status should be there in order to have a legal protection or in the trade with regard to the trade. Next one. Next. Now, before that, I want to tell you that the junglefowl trade, actually, grey junglefowl trade in India, what happened for export of this feather, even before the Wildlife Act, in the 1968 itself, they have banned this. I come across when I go searching for the literature. Coots has already informed that the junglefowl export of the neck feathers has been prevented or stopped in the 1968 itself. And again, now when we are doing that, it's only reserve forest. Already told you, reserve forest, reserve land, examined lands were there. Now I'm very happy that in 2000, actually in 9, the Megamalay, the tinge forest has been declared as Megamalay Wildlife Sanctuary. That means we have still further protection for junglefowl and other fauna and flora of that area. Next one. And before that, because there is some slide which I revised one, and because no, I will show you maybe of that. I think Vimal. So you close that. I will share my that. There's no slide. I want to highlight some more things. Just you close your sharing. close your sharing. Okay. Okay. You close? Okay. No. This is what I want to emphasize, that after doing our nearly from 2000 to 2005 field-oriented program funded by Minister of Environment and the University Grants Commission, we said the maximum sightings of the Grey Junglefowl has just found in the southern deciduous scrub forest and also planted mixed forest. When you go to the higher reaches, we have very, very rare sightings, very difficult sight, because the canopy cover is fully covered. I already told you the canopy cover is one of the important factors in deciding the population of the or the distribution of the Grey Junglefowl. And we have the southern deciduous scrub forest, which will have up to some 700 meters elevation. So usually 354 is ideal, like plantation, miscellaneous plantation, where we have the good number of the population. And already Satyakumar and we also emphasize that there should be interpretation of the shrub cover like this, shrub cover, and 41% of the canopy cover. We must have the litter cover like this, and the grass cover should be there. Next, okay, I'll show that. So that's what. So what about that? The why there should be litter cover? Because litter cover provides you insect fauna like this, and we have shrub cover provides you protection for these animals. Now, our analysis also says that which is the beneficial period in order to have a census program, in order to have a study of the Grey Junglefowl population. One can find a good population during the breeding season, December to May, in the tinge forest. Again, you have to decide. So it is not common to throughout the wherever we have junglefowl, maybe throughout South India, maybe different from Western Ghats, tinge forest. If you go to Andhra Pradesh, maybe if you go to the Mount Abu, there may be different criteria. One has to study which is the best season for sighting more number of the Grey Junglefowl. So I suggest that one has to take up surveys during this breeding season in the tinge forest. And again, suggestion, if we have the conservation effort for Grey Junglefowl population in tinge forest, we have to prioritize southern deciduous scrub forest habitats. Very, very important. And also miscellaneous and plantation will be there. So the management has to take up in order to give more importance for this type of habitat. Okay, already I told you encroachment from 2001 to 2005, where we have before declared we have the reserve land, examine land, conservation of the forest land, and they converted a lot of forest lands into agricultural land. Every year they used to encroach. This year maybe 10 meters, next year maybe another 5 meters like that. They plant all those things, and daily catch vegetables also they grow in that area. Okay, that's what I told you. That very recently in 2021, 11th April, this area, the Megamalai Wildlife Sanctuary, again upgraded into Megamalai Srivilliputturu Tiger Reserve. This actually adjoining to Megamalai or tinge forest, the Srivilliputturu Tiger Reserve one side, and also we have the Periyar Tiger Reserve on the Kerala side. So we are very happy that the further protection is given to Grey Junglefowl. And when my PhD scholars, one is N. Ramesh Kumar, he is actually working with the Grey Junglefowl. What he used to do, he came to know that the school children also collecting the eggs from the nesting site of the Grey Junglefowl. He used to go to the school, he will just create an awareness for these school children. So don't steal these eggs. If you want eggs, I will provide you money, or I will provide you hen eggs. So don't go and poach. That's awareness. He was doing that. And actually, they were now the school children have stopped poaching of this or the stealing of these eggs after that. And again, so based on our results, based on our field world program, and I'm happy that the Sri Venkateswara Zoology Park has taken up or chosen as one of the Grey Junglefowl breeding center in India. I recommend for a successful breeding program, first is you provide enclosures with the interspection of the shrub cover, because I have not seen this your enclosures or your habitat in the captive breeding program. You provide a shrub cover and open canopy, and you must also provide a litter cover. see that dried leaves are there, and also grass cover. That's with some grass cover, so that you are providing an insect diet for this grey junglefowl, and because they depend on a lot of grasshopper, the black ant, millipede, and beetle. So what I suggest that see that you have a black ant, because if, when you discussing about the foraging behavior, foraging energy, actually saving of the energy of that optimal foraging theory, what happened, the animal should not spend a lot of energy in order to search for, in order to capture, or in order to feed these insects. And when I was studying of the peacock also, I found out that they prefer the black ants. Very easily they can just choose, and they can trap, and they can feed on these black ants, very easily available. So see that you are able to provide a good habitat for this. Then we have a good captive product. And also, I think cover it may be very difficult task, whether you are able to cover it after the roosting phase. Whether if you allow the roosting, natural roosting try, I can. But it may be a difficult task. We can just try in one in a trial basis. Whether by providing that, we must have a good breeding program. All these things, and that's always I emphasize that. Okay. So when you want to live for 1 year, you just have a cultivation of the plant, rice or the paddy. If you want to live for 10 years ahead, you have to plant trees. If you want to live for 100 years, give the awareness program. So this is what I'm doing. We have to educate the people, pay more and more about the Grey Junglefowl. Like Satyakumar said, the entire pheasants in India, distribution of the different pheasants, and also how they're conserving. And we have the captive breeding. What is the importance of saving the wild ancestors? This is like the breeding stock. From the wild ancestors only we get the domestic stock. So that's why we have to give importance to the wild species. And also, I'm very, very thankful to the Sri Venkateswara Zoological Park curator, Sailaja Madam, for giving an opportunity to share some of the views on the Grey Junglefowl. And also, they have organized this in collaboration with Central Zoo Authority, and also BNHS, the Andhra Pradesh state government, and also the conservation to coexist and the people connect the celebrations. And I am very thankful everybody, and also for the participant for having given me an opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for giving an informative lecture on ecology and behavior of Grey Junglefowl. It's a very vast lecture, sir. Thank you very much, sir. It is very informative. And sir, we have a few questions from the viewers. I kindly request any one of you to answer them, sir.
Sure.
Sir, the question is, can you please say on lifespan and viability age of the birds as breeding stock? Is hatchability reduced as they become aged? What is the probable age for replacing with younger birds?
No, actually, this is the thing we cannot get, because even I tried that. What is the lifespan? Because lifespan is not known. For the peacock, other thing they say the 15-20 years. But whereas this junglefowl, we don't have the literature. I searched for the literature, so I cannot say 5 to 10 years, because I have no idea about the lifespan of these birds.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I would like to add.
Satyakumar can.
Yeah. There is a book, a guideline book, manual for breeding of. That book is available that people can buy and follow. But Professor Satyanarayana sir has just said, how long a bird will live in captivity is not in the hands of. It's not a standard time period, because it depends on the feed we are giving. It depends on the the care that is being given in the enclosure and the birds. So if they are taken care of well, the feed formula is good, they will live for longer. And there are some methods for captive breeding or conservation breeding. If the animal bird keeper is following the all the conditions properly, they will live for maybe even a longer time period than what they would do otherwise. Thank you.
Sir, is hatchability reduced as they become aged? This is a part of
Yes,
question.
yes. the hatchability would reduce as the age becomes, when the hens become older, they will not be able to lay a good egg number of eggs. So it is every bird has their reproductive cycle. The peak will be from, say, second year onwards till 5 or 6 years. Afterwards, it will go down. Okay, wild birds is difficult, but for chicken, you can keep the bird for as long as you can and take care of it and enable them to lay eggs. That's the idea about it.
Okay, sir. So the
But if you
next
can
question.
increase, but if you can improve the health condition of the female and give good food, yes, she may extend it maybe for a couple of years, but not much.
Sir.
So what about your observation about Shailaja in the Bagheera Azure? Is there any breeding pair, and is there any
Sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We have 32 breeding pairs here, sir.
But is there any hedging of the eggs?
Yes, as sir asked, you can say that how long your breeding pairs, Tirupati Zoo. Yeah.
Whether you're able to have a nesting, is there any clutch size eggs you have seen?
Sir.
Laying of eggs. Is there any observation of that?
Yeah, yes,
No
sir.
problem. Okay.
Sir, recently we have observed that means hatchability of the eggs is reducing, sir. So,
No,
I want to decide, sir,
one
actually.
I will tell you one thing optimistically that I know Satyakumar and we know that they started the chill season program also, captive breeding program also, and even Western Trapper also. I think especially Pheasants, I think Satyakumar and also we know very well that it's a very difficult task. The captive breeding programs are very difficult. One has to take all the steps. They are in the initial stage. I think Satyakumar can also throw some light on this.
Sir. Yes, sir. The next question is, when will young birds leave their parents after birth?
Which one? Okay. So actually, what happened that usually when they have the next breeding, when the female go for next
breeding, birds leave their parents after birth.
Yeah, actually, what happened? They'll be there from 2 to 3 months with their adult one. Once they have from the natural father, they have the wings, other things. They will choosing. This is called precocial birds. The life is that when they born, what happens? They depend on the parents. Though they are not born to neck type, they are able to predate other. They want to feed on the other insects and the seeds and precocial. They depend on the parent. For some time, maybe some 3 months, 4 months, they'll be there with that, and they will go separate, become the subordinate. They go there. Maybe up to maybe 4 or 5 months, they will leave with their parent. They will just go and they have leave like that.
The next question is, sir, will males involve in nest building or only females do on their own?
Yeah, already I told you that the parental care is only by the females. Male do not involve in nest building or taking care of the young ones. There is no male investment in the parental care. Right?
Sir, one more question, sir. What is the food source of calcium for laying eggs in fowl?
No, actually, usually they depend on the animal protein. Okay, calcium also they get from that, and we have also seen somewhere that some observation that the remains of the eggshells also. In some of our indirect evidences, we found the eggshell. So they also eat on the eggshells. They also found that some of the traces of the eggshell. So most of the birds, they will just feed on the eggshell in order to supplement the calcium.
Sir, I'd like to supplement here. Yes, in captivity, we have observed in many places, after the hatching is done, the mother eats up the eggshell because deficient of calcium. She'll eat the hatched eggshells. That's correct.
And one more thing here, eggshell. We have when I studied about the common moorhen, the wetland bird, what happened that after the hatching of the egg, some portion of the eggshell eaten by the female, and immediately from the nest side, they have taken away this eggshell. Okay, so this is called the hatched eggshell. Has been carried out by both male and female, and they dump in the maybe some 10 meters away from this nesting site. Because when I go to literature, in order to avoid the predation, if you have a hatched eggshell, the predators easily smell it, and they will hunt the chicks. So to avoid that, also they happen also that. So they consume for the calcium supplement, and also in order to prevent the predators to come and hunt the chicks.
Sir, yeah, sir, with this, I'll conclude this session, sir.
I think only one thing, if you allow me, for Satyakumar, I just one clarity, Satyakumar. Satyakumar?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead, sir.
Because our presentation on this, whatever we have the jungle fowl and red jungle fowl domestication. Actually, one thing is still when I go to literature, there are conflicting views because of the genetic purity. Because in the chicken, we can in the domesticated one, we cannot find out the eclipse plumage. What's your feedback on that? The trait disappeared from the chick, whereas we have in the grey jungle fowl and the red jungle fowl eclipse plumage after the breeding season. What's your view on this, Satyakumar?
Sir, eclipse plumage is only in the wild birds, not in the domesticated. So when we domesticated them, this eclipse plumage is completely lost.
Yeah.
There's no plumage change in the captive birds or the domesticated birds.
So
that gene is only confined to the wild ones.
Wild one. Because in Thane Forest Division, we could not go. There are the settlements in the Thane Forest Division. Wherever we have the Thane Forest, all those things, there are the settlements or the quarters of the electricity board. They have the domestic stock, but they're not mingling with the grey junglefowl is not mingling with them. I asked my research scholar through that. They're not able to.
Sir, they don't mingle, sir. When I talk about domestication, it was human induced.
Okay, not
naturally. Yeah, yes.
So they're also the same thing.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sir. Okay, sir. Sir, we'll conclude the session, sir. And the webinars will be continued for the next coming 3 days. And I take this opportunity on behalf of Andhra Pradesh Forest Department to thank our speakers, all the participants and the viewers on YouTube. Thank you one and all. Have a good day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, madam, for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Bye.